Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time for your weekly wrap-up, and I want to begin first, as we always do, by thanking our Patreon supporters, and Guy Brooks made an upgrade to his Patreon support this week, so I want to thank Guy for that, as well as everyone who has been contributing on a regular basis, and all of you who watch on a regular basis. Next week, when we do the wrap-up, I'll go through a year in review as far as statistics are concerned related to viewership growth and subscriber growth, and I can't wait to get to the end of the year and be able to look back and give you some analytics on everything you have done to help contribute to the growth of the channel. It's been a great year, and I want to thank you all for that. So what did we do last week? Well, we looked at the Lenovo N22, which is a low-cost Intel-based Windows machine that is under $200. And this particular one we looked at had Windows 10 Pro installed, and Joseph Arner was wondering why they would put that in there on a machine that was being sold, at least in this case, through Walmart.com. And I think what happened here is that this is a machine that was designed for education and maybe some business uses that maybe Lenovo was just trying to get rid of before the end of the year. So maybe they found a retailer that was willing to essentially liquidate them for Lenovo, and I bet Walmart just stepped up to the plate on that, because this was really something that I hadn't seen in a lot of retail stores during the course of the year, which is why it kind of crept up on me. A lot of you actually wrote in to see if I could review one. So I have a feeling that these are out there just because they've sold everything they could through the commercial and education markets and are just trying to get rid of them at this point, which is probably why that was happening. So if you can get one, a pretty decent little Braswell powered laptop and definitely worth taking a look at. We also looked at the Roku Express. I've got the Roku Ultra in also, which I hope to get to in the next week or two. This is their low-end device, and I always like to look at the low end of stuff just to see where what the entry point is for most consumers. And what's cool about this one is that it works with regular composite television. So if you have just a standard definition TV, you can get your YouTube and Netflix on this, and I'm sure you've got people in your life who could use something like this, and it's not all that expensive. I do think the Roku Stick is the better of the two if you were comparing the two together, because the Roku Stick is faster, but this one, of course, has more options. So the Express Plus, which is what we looked at, is $39. You can get the stick for around that price, but the regular Roku Express that doesn't have the composite output is actually $29, so it's actually $20 less than the stick. But if you're looking for something faster, I think the stick is the way to go. I also did a review of the Ultimate NES app, which is composed and written by Pat Contri, who's also known as Pat the NES Punk. He published that huge book that I had in my collection of the top 5 gifts for aging geeks and gamers a couple of weeks ago. I'll put that link to that video down below in our master playlist, and this is the app version of it, and I really like it. And you know what's funny is that I got a lot of downvotes on this video, more so on a percentage basis than I've had in quite some time. So I'm not sure what the reason for that is. Maybe you don't like the app reviews. I don't know. Let me know, because I've got a couple more apps I wanted to share with you over the next couple of weeks. But if it's not something the audience likes, I will definitely devote my time to other things. But a lot of you had said you liked some of these app reviews, so I definitely wanted to keep those going there. And as far as this app is concerned, this is a real labor of love by a fellow independent content creator. Pat is a full-time YouTuber, and he really worked his tail off writing this book and then taking all of that content, putting it into database form, and working with a developer to get this app produced. It was really a lot of work on his part, and I really like to acknowledge fellow creators, because I know how hard it is to start a channel, keep it going, and growing it all at the same time. And then when you do projects like this on the side, it takes a lot of extra work to get all of those things accomplished, yet still do all the other stuff you need to do to run a channel. So really a great app, and worth checking out if you are a fan of the original NES. And of course, we had our retro review of the Apple IIgs, and in the course of that review, a capacitor blew out on the power supply and kind of cut some of the gaming examples I was going to use in the video short, because the computer basically could not be used for the remainder of the video. Now, one thing I didn't do is post a sound of the popping that actually occurred, so check it out. So I heard that pop, and initially I just thought it was something falling off the desk, because to be honest with you, when I'm doing a video on this table, stuff is falling off the desk all the time. But I heard the pop, and I said, wait a minute, nothing fell off the desk. And then I heard the sizzle, and then I said, wait a minute, the computer is still on, where's the smoke? And then sure enough, the smoke started pouring out of it. And you saw that I kind of ran off with the monitor first, because I thought it was the monitor that exploded, and what I wanted to do was just get whatever was smoking out of the room in case it was going to catch fire or something. And it turns out it wasn't actually the the monitor at all. But one thing I did do was shut down the computer immediately just to prevent any damage to the cards that are inside of it, because I do have some valuable cards inside of this thing right now, including that accelerator card that I mentioned. I did get a lot of great feedback, though, from folks, and the first one, of course, which was funny, was that I let the smoke out. There's always this thing about the magic smoke keeping your electronics working. But it was also good to hear from some Apple II experts out there, and it turns out I think they're absolutely correct as to what the issue was, the RFI filter cap. And what this capacitor was for was to prevent interference with standard analog televisions, which of course are not being used anymore because there's no analog TV. So I might be able to get by without that capacitor. So I might talk to some folks who have a better understanding of electronics than I do to maybe get this thing back up on its feet. Because after the pop and sizzle happened, the computer actually didn't shut down. I think that capacitor is not necessary. It's kind of like an appendix. So I'm probably going to be able to keep using it without it, but I definitely want to get a person that knows more about electronics than I do to take a look at it to make sure I'm not going to have a continued fire hazard on my hands here. But the good news is that it doesn't look like anything bad happened to the 2GS itself. The motherboard here looks like it's fine. Like I said, it was continuing to operate even after it started smoking. So I think we're going to be okay as far as the hardware is concerned. But while I have the power supply out, which is normally right here, I did want to show you another ticking time bomb in these Apple II GSs, one that I actually have to address myself. And that is this battery here that was used to save some of the system configuration settings. These will eventually start leaking and destroy your motherboard in the process. So if you have an old Apple II GS that you want to keep using, even if you don't want to use it often, I would definitely suggest snipping out this battery. You'll lose the ability to keep your settings intact after each reboot. You have to set your clock again each time, but they do have some folks on the Apple II enthusiast forum that will be happy to help you develop a replacement option to keep those settings intact without losing your motherboard due to a 30-year-old battery leaking and exploding all over your motherboard. It's happening all the time now with these old machines. So it's definitely something you want to consider doing in the future to prevent your Apple II GS from dying on you. Now it's time for a couple of things that are on my mind. I did want to start off with a continuation of my story on my Apple MacBook Pro, the new one that I got that had the speakers blow up when we were using Windows on it. Apple was very quick to help me out with that problem. They sent a replacement out about a week ago. I sent my other one back, and I am back on my feet with a brand new computer. So that was really nice of them to get that process done very quickly. The computer that I sent back actually went to engineering, so I would imagine the engineers are interested in getting as many of these back as possible to try to figure out how all of that happened. And you can see some of my videos that I'll link down below in the master playlist to give you the full recap on the entire issue that I experienced. And it took about 2 weeks to get the replacement computer, so I'm glad I didn't send mine back in and have nothing. It's because these new MacBooks are obviously in short supply, so I had to wait for one to become available. But the one that I got wasn't a refurb. It was a brand new machine in a brand new box, and it was really nice to get a brand new computer back, and now I am back on my feet completely. And I also have the Dell logo up here because you know I have that Dell XPS 15 that I use quite a bit when I'm talking about Windows applications. That one sort of died on me also in the course of the last 2.5 weeks. The battery just stopped charging. It just completely stopped working. So I was able to get that quickly dealt with also. That was actually really good on this one. What happened was when I plugged in the computer to charge it, the little light in the front would just blink and the battery wouldn't charge. And if I unplugged the power cord, it would just shut off. So basically the battery just went kaput, or maybe there was a logic board issue. Whatever it was, I went on the Dell chat, and within 20 minutes they agreed to send me a box. I sent the computer back, and in less than a week I got the computer back up and running again. So really good support on Dell, at least in this case for me, and I was quite pleased to see that. I also wanted to point out just in addition to something I was talking about last week in the on my mind section of the video, and I was complaining about the fact that Microsoft was spamming me with notifications every time I loaded up Chrome to use their own web browser versus a competing one. And Michael Ebmar tweeted me to say that Apple's been doing a similar thing, and he's right. I don't see this often, but whenever I get on a new Mac or on a new account, I'll often get this message encouraging me to try out Safari. So it looks like everybody is trying to use the power of their operating system to direct you into their web browsers using the notifications, and Apple is certainly not innocent in this either. So it looks like it seems to be a widening industry practice, and Mikhail wonders whether or not iTunes will soon be spamming you if you load up Spotify. I certainly hope that doesn't happen, but who knows. And I also wanted to just share a tweet that I posted posted today because I was thinking about this. You know, Steam, the gaming marketplace, has these sales all the time, and usually you get some really good deals on PC games, especially some of the AAA titles that might be a year or so old. Sometimes you can get them for like $10 or $15, and I've been buying games constantly during all of these sales, and then I realized the other day I never actually play any of them. My Steam library is huge. I got all these great games in there. I never have time to play any of them, but I keep buying them. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I was just noting that, and a lot of folks tweeted in with similar stories of their very large Steam libraries that they never actually get to. So I'm going to ask you a little later in the review to share with me your experiences with Steam and how big your library is. I'd just like to hear if my little issue here is unique to me, or maybe everyone does this. Who knows? So you'll let me know in a minute. And now it's time for some Q&A, and I got a great comment here from Trim the other day, and you can see it in the second half of this image you have displayed on your screen right now, where he's talking about some of the clickbaity titles that he's seeing out there. And I think this comment came out of the fact that I used the term Windows is spamming in my weekly wrap-up video from last week, because it did sound a little clickbaity, and to be honest with you, I really thought about that title. Do I want to say Windows is spamming because others have said it? And I was definitely thinking of a title that would get you to click on the video to watch it. I'll be honest with you. And I think that's been kind of the problem with media here. What keeps my conscience somewhat clear in this regard is that I hope that I provide you with some good back and forth and at least some good factual evidence for whatever things that I'm going to bring up in the course of a commentary piece that I might do on the wrap-up here. And I'm really very eager not to jump into this boat and start doing top 5 lists with all this junk stock imagery and everything in the course of production here on the channel. The good news is that I'm not a big corporation that needs to have a sustainable flow of worthless content to maintain my revenue. I'm just trying to make a living here. If I can make a living, I don't need to do more than that. So I'm going to be very mindful of this moving forward, and will continue to be, because this is a big problem on the web. And what I don't know is whether or not it's the search engines to blame, whether it's the social media platforms to blame, or if it's the consumers of content to blame, because for whatever reason, this content with these clickbaity titles, the top 5 reasons you should do X, Y, or Z, makes money. People click on this stuff. They get millions of views as a result of it, and it's total junk food. And may the facts be damned in many cases, or perhaps the facts are legitimate, but it's being rewritten 5 times from the original source. I want to give you a great example of some clickbait that required a major publication to apologize. So Essence Magazine, one of the many corporate media providers out there, is feeling the burn about trying to continue this flow of content out to the world because they have bills to pay for their big corporation. And they posted up a headline that said, "These are White House photographer Pete Sousa's favorite images of President Obama." And they had to apologize because they weren't his favorite images. They never asked him if these were his favorite images. He's never posted anything to say these were. But what they did is they found that you could use the White House imagery for free because it is in the public domain. And they just used it to fill a hole in their content one day, because they have to keep posting every 5 minutes to keep people looking at stuff. And as a result, a bunch of other publications then took that same headline, took those same photos, because they can't plagiarize government material apparently, and started doing the same thing. So meanwhile, there's a bunch of photos hitting the web that people reading will think are the White House photographer's favorite photos, and they're not. Now, this is certainly not a big deal in the scheme of things, but it's an example of the kind of hole we're falling into with media. And again, I'm not sure if the fault here lies with the readers, with the publications, or with the search algorithms, or maybe everybody, because this is the world we're in right now and how the media works, that you have to just try to grab just that fraction of a moment of someone's attention so you can keep paying the bills. And that's really where we're at the moment. The good thing with video content, and why I'm so excited about this medium, is that not only do they measure views, but really it's becoming more about attention. How long is someone watching for? As you know, YouTube switched their metrics with creators to focus more on watch time versus overall views, which is why longer videos now are favored versus shorter ones. And when you're able to measure the length of attention, the value of that attention gets to be more significant, certainly more so than banner display ads, which can show up for a split second, never even be looked at, yet these advertisers can charge for that ad impression. The same won't be said on video, where you can actually measure how long somebody watches for. So I'm very eager to see how things develop in the next couple of years, but I'm hopeful, or hoping perhaps, that we can develop some standards in which we present things out to the world, and perhaps it requires the algorithms and the social media networks to start looking at how people are consuming this content and trying to figure out ways that they can provide higher quality quality content to people without editorializing it or trying to filter out certain opinions. And that's the real challenge we're at right now, because really the platforms like YouTube and Facebook are really only concerned about keeping people on their platforms as long as possible, not the quality of content that's presented there. But I think at some point, viewers are going to want more, and I'm hoping that when that does occur, that everyone's going to start putting their heads together and figure out ways they can get better content in front of people. The good news for everyone, though, is that we're in an age where there's no longer 5 or 6 people determining the media that the rest of the nation and the world consumes. When you think back 20 or 30 years, when you had newspapers and TV and radio networks kind of dominating everything, the editorial staff of those organizations determined what a bulk of the population of the nation or world that you live in was actually seeing, and that is going away. And now it's on us to start filtering this content, and I think we need to have some help from social media platforms to make that better. And the key is, how do you make sure every viewpoint gets represented in the course of that? And I think that's going to be the challenge in the coming years here to figure it out. But I'm just going to keep sitting at this desk here and trying to be as objective as possible in this content and anything else that I might do in the coming year. I will try to give you my straight approach to it, and I hope I do that. And if I ever get off track, do let me know down in the comments. I know you always do, and I hope you will continue keeping me in a good place here as I continue to develop this media platform I'm on. Now, last week on the wrap-up, we talked about a crazy new piece of malware that was using, speak of the devil, banner ads to embed code that would then get executed on your computer. And the way they were embedding the code was actually pretty scary. They were putting the code inside of an image to mask it. So this ad code would run. It would look like it was just downloading the image to display on the person's web browser, but in fact, it was also pulling out some secret text inside of that image to then execute on the person's computer and then slowly reprogram their router. Crazy complicated, but kind of brilliant in its execution. And I wanted to just show you what Steganography is all about in case you've never seen it before. So I'm going to pull up another window here, and I've got a directory here with 2 images. They're thumbnails from my retro review here, so you can see they look completely identical to each other, but one is called Secret Message and the other one is the original image. Now you'll notice there is a slight file size difference here. So the Secret Message is a little bit bigger than the original image is, and I've got some software here running on my Mac. This is called iSteg. It's a front end to some open source steganography software. There's a lot of different ways to do steganography here, and there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. And I'm just going to click process here because I've embedded a secret message inside of that secret image file. So let me just reselect it so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to select secret message, which was that image we looked at just a second ago. I'm going to hit process here, and I've got some text that I'm going to output. So now you'll see that there is some text in the window here, and when I click on that, sure enough, I get the Gettysburg Address, which was embedded inside of that image file. All that text was in there encrypted, and I'm sure there are ways to find this information if you are looking for things that have been encrypted with some secret message. But if you don't know the size of the original image that you are embedding stuff into, it may be hard to figure it out just on a first glance. So there's probably lots of images out on the web right now that are hiding things that people know to look for and run software like this to pull out that additional information. Pretty crazy stuff. And Nicholas Cheney writes in with a very good question as to why are apps appearing first on Apple's App Store for iOS before they appear on the Play Store for Android. He's wondering, is Apple less strict or something? And the answer, of course, to that question is no. In fact, Apple is ridiculously strict in their terms. In fact, I've got a Kickstarter that I'll be reviewing shortly that the app is not yet available for because Apple is requiring them to mail them an actual unit so they can test this thing before they approve it for the App Store. It's kind of crazy the hoops that they make developers jump through sometimes. But the real reason that these apps are appearing first, like Super Mario Run being iOS exclusive at the moment, is this graph from App Annie. App Annie is a analytics firm that helps developers make business decisions on their applications. Now, if you look on the left, Google Play has significantly more downloads than Apple, more than double what Apple is seeing on their platforms, primarily because there are so many more Android devices in the wild than there are Apple devices. But look on the other graph here on the right-hand side. It's all about the revenue. If you are a developer looking to sell an app, the chances are you will make more money on the iOS App Store than you will on Google Play. Apple users are more likely to buy an app than Google Play users are. So when you look at these download statistics here, clearly most of the apps downloaded from the Google Play Store are free apps, whereas you're more likely to sell an app to somebody on the Apple App Store. I do think this graph, I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like this year. This was last year's report. They usually do these around January because Google now, of course, is making the Pixel, which is a great phone. There's many other phones coming out as well that I think will certainly even the playing field out as far as premium devices are concerned, and Android has certainly gotten a lot better both for developers and users over the last 2 or 3 years. So I'm thinking this number is going to start getting a little closer, but right now really this is the deal. If you are a developer and you're looking to make money, you start on Apple because that is the audience that is likely going to buy your app. And Apple, of course, is more keen to promote you in the App Store if you are exclusive to their platform. If you launch on both platforms simultaneously, you may not get that coveted slot to have folks click through and buy your app. So there's a lot of reasons why I think they're doing that, but it all comes down to money. And I've got one bonus question for you this week because a lot of you wrote in about how much you love the Apple 2GS retro review, which I really enjoy doing too. I really like doing this old hardware review video. The reason why I only do one a year is because I only have so much stuff to show you. Even though I've got this wall of stuff over here, there's not a lot of content I can generate from a lot of it. So I pick one thing a year, and around Christmas time when I'm feeling all nostalgic for the electronic toys of my youth, I will do a retro review of it. If I have an opportunity throughout the year, I might do something, but generally you'll get one of these once a year, and I've got to think about what next year's one is going to be because a lot of the stuff I'd love to show you is currently broken. The one I really want to do next year is of my PowerBook 180C, which was a Mac PowerBook that I got probably in the winter of '93, and by the fall of '94 it had already fallen apart. It really didn't last all that long. In fact, it's in like 4 or 5 pieces in my basement over there, so I still have it. I just got to put it back together or maybe find another one. I did buy one on eBay about 10 years ago in the hopes of restoring the data from the old one, but that one fell apart, so I'm basically without a PowerBook 180C at the moment. So if I can get one between now and Christmas of 2017, I will probably do that one next. But I have covered a bunch of other retro topics in the past on prior years. So we did, last year we did BBS systems, covering how I used to get online before the internet was available commercially to folks like us. So that was a fun one to do last year. Before that, I did laser tag, which was as you all know, I think I got one of the sensors back over there. A really fun game to play with your friends outside. And it was the original laser tag, not this current one that doesn't really live up to the original, in my opinion. I looked at the Sega 32X, and I used that along with a Sega CDX, which is a very short-lived version of Sega's Genesis console that had the cartridge slot and the CD-ROM player all in one very compact device. And my wife actually came into the marriage with that thing. She apparently had one and didn't think it was all that interesting to her. I was like, oh my gosh, you got a CDX, and that was what I use now for my main Sega Genesis device, which was great. That's how I knew she was the right one. Then I also got a 3DO review that I did a number of years ago also, which was a great game console, and it was started up by a former CEO of Electronic Arts named Trip Hawkins, and he created a platform that he then licensed out to different manufacturers. So this game console was manufactured by Panasonic as well as by Gold Star, which now is known as LG, but back then it was Gold Star, and I believe Sanyo made one as well. And then Creative Labs, who makes the Sound Blaster, made a PC card that ran 3DO titles also. It was a really cool platform, but they got clobbered by Sony when the PlayStation came out, and that was it for them. But for a period of time, probably between like 93 and 94, it was a really hot game console and quite expensive actually, but it was really, really cool. So you can check out all those reviews. I'll link them down below so you can get your retro fix, and I will hopefully do more of these in the future, but probably only once or twice a year just because they often don't get the viewership that my other videos get. But this one did really well, which was so encouraging because I really love retro hardware. As you know, I got a whole wall of it behind me here, and I love sharing my passion for this stuff with all of you. So that was a really fun thing, especially given how late I was up making that video, given all the problems we had with the 2GS. 2GS is a great computer, but it often is finicky, and when you're trying to download hard drive images from websites and trying to get modern things to work on it, it often throws up a lot of roadblocks on you. So this one definitely took a lot longer than I had hoped it would take as far as production was concerned, but I'm really happy with the way it came out, and I'm glad so many of you enjoyed it too. And now it's time for a Q&A for you. I want to know about your Steam library because I think most of us have far more games that we own than what we've played, just given how inexpensive they get during some of these sales. So I checked mine. I have 135 games on there, That is more games on a single platform than I have ever owned on any other platform, even going back to my Atari 2600 that I think my father bought when I was 2 or 3 years old, just to give you some context here. So again, when those games come on sale, I'm just clicking away and buying everything in the hopes of, oh yeah, I'll play that game one day, and then I never get to it. So I'm just curious what you've got in your library. If you want to add me to your friends list, you can find me at Lon.TV. Just note that I don't often check the messages on there and stuff because I'm typically in there using 3D Mark and Grand Theft Auto 5 when I'm testing out computers and whatnot. I don't really play a lot of games, unfortunately, these days, but I hope to do a little more soon because I'm feeling kind of guilty having all these games and not actually playing any of them. There's some fun ones in there as I was going through my library. The really fun thing with Steam is that there's stuff that just shows up in there automatically. So I had bought years ago the BioShock franchise because it was cheap, and now I'm getting the remastered one for free. It just showed up there the other day, and I think that's really cool. So it's a really great platform, very easily portable between systems, and I really like how I can install stuff easily on an external drive and move it around to different computers too. And I love the synchronization of save games that they do on most of the games in their library as well. So really great platform, lots of fun. I'd love to hear what you're doing with your account. So this week, I am sure my ambitions will once again outstrip my ability to actually produce the content I want to produce, but I'm definitely going to cover this thing. This is the Voyo V1. For some reason, they call it a VMac Mini, which is a bit concerning. I'm not sure how long they're going to be able to keep that up for. But this is the first mini PC powered by an Apollo Lake processor, which is the new Braswell equivalent that will be going into many mini PCs that we'll be looking at, I'm sure, throughout the course of the years. This will be kind of the performance benchmark we'll look at other machines with. And this came in free of charge through GearBest.com, and they've been really good about getting us some of this stuff as early as possible. So I got to find a power adapter for it because they only had the one with the European adapter, but I will get that and hopefully get this review up, I hope tomorrow, if I can get all the testing done tomorrow. So I'm really excited to check this one out because it is a new Intel platform, and I'm sure a lot of you are interested in seeing the differences between the new Intel platform and the old one. So we'll see what this can do. The Atom chips are done, but these are still happening. So we'll see how this compares with last year's technology. So be on the lookout for that. I got some other stuff on the books as well. And if you want to help the channel, you can. You can go to Lon.TV/Patreon and make a monthly contribution to the channel. We also have YouTube fan funding set up at Lon.TV. And I did want to just give you an update on hiring some help here on the channel because I've often mentioned that those funds are going to go towards paying somebody to help me out here on the channel so that I can get more work done. And that is going to happen. I've been reluctant to get that started just because my day job schedule is so crazy. I never know when I'm going to be here to actually have somebody in and supervise them. So I'm going to try to figure out the best way to bring somebody on when I know I am in the home office here working to make sure that we're going to make the best use of their time and your money in the process there. So I'm going to keep you updated through the Patreon update system there as that develops, and I hope to have that figured out very shortly. I'll have some more news on that and the schedule I'll be keeping here on the channel in the coming weeks as well. So stay tuned. We're definitely going to be putting that money towards what I said I was going to put it towards. I'm keeping it in a lockbox and protected against anything else. So we're definitely going to be paying for that person. And I think we have enough now in the coffer to probably fund that position for a year. And this is going to be a part-time person, likely a high school student who's in the media program here at the local school around the corner, the high school, because they've got some really talented kids doing some really cool stuff in media, and I'm really eager to provide a paid internship on this channel so they can do some work on a real living, actively produced YouTube channel that they can go on to college and career with some hopefully some demo stuff in their resume there. So I'm really looking forward to getting that going. Just wanted to give you an update on that. We also still have our affiliate arrangement with Plex. So if you sign up for a Plex account, just a free account, no credit card necessary, we get a small commission from that. We also have the holiday gift guide. Even though the holidays are kind of over, you probably have gift money at Amazon to spend. So Amazon's got a really nice thing they set up here to very easily find what you're looking for. And of course, we get an affiliate revenue whenever you go to that link to buy something. So check that out if you can. You can engage with the channel in a whole bunch of different ways. We got my extras channel, which I've been uploading a lot of stuff to at Lon.TV/extras. We got the email list at Lon.TV/email. I'm experimenting with paper.ly. You've probably seen their stuff on Twitter, those annoying things that says the so-and-so's daily is out and you click on it, it's got a bunch of links to stuff. Well, I guess they've got an email version of of it, where I can take content from the YouTube channel and then link it up with my MailChimp account and produce the email newsletter a lot faster than I can do on my own at the moment. So I'm going to be experimenting with that. Hope to have it working in the next week or two, and that email will become more regular. One of the things I've been contemplating is also a notification email separate from this list, and I'll probably bring up some more information on that as I figure it out. But I'm leaning towards also providing something for those of you that want a notification from me every time I post something, to have it send it out to you automatically whenever that video gets posted. I'm going to be experimenting with that a little bit as well in the coming weeks too, so be on the lookout for that. We got the Facebook page, which I also do quite a bit on at Lon.TV/Facebook, and then we got the store, which after the first of the year will be stocked up with a whole bunch of new stuff for you to buy, things that I've reviewed here on the channel, and I'm now going to resell. I'm trying to get this place cleaned up and organized, and I hope to do that when I get back from CES early in January. So stay tuned. All sorts of stuff to come here on the channel. I want to thank everybody for your continued support. It's been growing at an awesome pace here. I've got so much stuff to review. I'm really looking forward to getting some help on board here and getting a little more time, hopefully, to devote to the channel. I really slip in my productions in between family and work and everything else. And some nights, like the other night with the 2GS, it was a really late night. So I'm looking forward to finding some way to achieve a better work and life balance. But this has been a real joy to do this work, because even though it is work, it's a lot of fun to do, and I'm just so motivated to keep growing the channel because so many of you are watching and providing such great feedback like I got on that retro review, and I'm really eager to do more for you in 2017. So I'll see you next week. I think it actually might be next year when I see you, so if I don't see you before then, you'll see some reviews and whatnot, but not in the wrap-up format. I do wish you a very happy new year. Stay safe and be responsible, and I'm looking forward to a great year ahead. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.